So I'm taking you on a barefoot forest walk with me. Why would anyone want to do this, right? Well, let's get into it. Our bodies require not only superior natural nutrition, but we must also support our electrical systems. You know your body's electrical, right? Our heartbeat, brain, nervous system, they're all electrical. Eastern cultures have always included the body's electrical systems as an essential part of health. And just walking outdoors in nature, it's a very simple yet powerful way to enhance your electrical system and bring vibrancy and energy into your being. And there is a way to revolutionize your nature walks that doesn't take any more time or any special equipment, that will profoundly harmonize the electrical energy circulating in your body. And it is called grounding. You may have heard the term ungrounded, meaning that you just don't feel solid or right in your body, not connected. Well, this happens when we've accumulated too much static, EMFs, or electrical magnetic frequencies. Electrical energy that's emitted from power lines, computers, TV, radio antenna, etc. What happens is your body discharges electrons and negative ions that you require in order to stay electrically balanced. So your body's energy field doesn't become polluted by all the static. And if you don't replace those electrons, you can become electronically deficient. Becoming electron deficient isn't something your doctor will tell you about. Most just don't know. Like sunlight and air, grounding is absolutely essential for emotional and physical well-being. Negative emotions, anxiety, etc., are measurably reduced along with physical pain and inflammation when we are grounded. Grounding is a new paradigm of healing and health, and it simply means allowing the telluric forces of the earth to absorb emotional and physical static from your body that can cause headaches, insomnia, fibromyalgia, and inflammation, etc. Grounding allows us to not only discharge negative energy, but to also absorb the energy from the earth. So how to get grounded? Well, we can't easily avoid all the electric magnetic pollution in our modern society. However, there is something we can do to help negate it, to become grounded, and to receive our daily requirement of electrons. And that is barefoot walking. Why barefoot? Well, in these modern times, not only are we bombarded by these electrical emissions from our technologies, as I've already said, but we're also disconnected from the earth through wearing footwear. Shoes with rubber soles insulate us and interfere with our primordial connection to the earth. Our bodies require actual physical connection, skin to earth, to absorb needed electrons and negative ions. Walking barefoot in nature instantly connects us to the earth's energies and restores our natural electrical state. An exciting book on grounding called Earthing says that beneath our feet is not mere grass, dirt, sand, or concrete, but an omnipresent source of natural healing. Barefooting harmonizes your body's natural biorhythms that govern your digestive, nervous, and hormonal systems. Healing is accelerated and stress is dramatically lowered. So take a sensual barefoot walk in nature to ground yourself for health and beauty. And here are just some of the benefits from grounding: increased energy, regenerative sleep, reduced stress levels, natural pain relief, improved circulation, clearing of inflammation, natural healing, and it's anti-aging. So this is why you'll find me outdoors, walking barefoot, all times of the year. And I'm not saying you have to walk barefoot in the snow as I do. I've just come to really love it. And of course, there are some contraindications, and one must be very aware and tune into your body. Definitely don't overdo it. But it's like the most incredible massage. There's so many nerve endings in our feet that are stimulated through walking on the surfaces of the earth. And the cold temperature is also highly stimulating, and I just find it very invigorating. Now, this idea of receiving energy from the earth, it's not a new one. The Chinese certainly, they have understood this, and they call it qi, which is a central principle in their knowledge and wisdom around health and well-being. And that is just the energy, the natural force that fills the universe. In the Chinese tradition, heaven qi is made up of the forces that heavenly bodies exert on the earth, such as sunshine, moonlight, the moon's effect on the tides. The earth's qi is influenced and controlled by heaven qi, and it's made up of lines and patterns of energy, as well as the earth's magnetic field and the heat concealed underground. And within the earth's qi, individuals and animals and plants, while we all have our own qi field, and all natural things grow and are influenced by the cycles of heaven qi and earth qi. And in Vedic tradition, it's called prana, this vital life force. The Greeks also knew about this concept of receiving energy from nature. Hercules, one of the great heroes in Greek mythology, fought and defeated the giant Antaeus, who was a great wrestler, and he was invincible as long as his feet remained in contact with the earth, from where he drew his strength. And he'd never been defeated. However, Hercules, knowing Antaeus' secret, just lifted him off the ground and was able to kill him easily off that way. As well, the Native Americans, they've always honored the connection to earth. And here in the West, we are coming to understand all of this as well, that the earth energies restores our body's natural internal electrical rhythms, and that in turn promotes natural health. And that includes our cardiovascular health, our respiratory and digestive and immune system. All of this, all of our systems are regulated and harmonized when we have vitamin G for grounding. It's truly a nutrient that we require. Hippocrates said, "Illnesses do not come upon us out of the blue. They are developed from small daily sins against nature. When enough sins have accumulated, illnesses will suddenly appear." And grounding could certainly be the missing link in our health. There's even a new term called inflammaging. Inflammaging. And that is to say that inflammation causes aging. Inflammation is always at the basis of any disease that's going on in our body. And grounding actually cools the body and reduces inflammation. Just walking barefoot, being outdoors, skin to earth, it dramatically reduces inflammation in the body. They've actually proven this with scientific scanners and laser lights that read the heat in our bodies. In this book, Earthing by Clint Ober, you can actually see pictures of people's bodies and their inflammation that is so reduced after a period of grounding. So, isn't it amazing how simply walking barefoot and being on the earth's surface, connecting with our skin, can start to restore our internal electrical stability? It also helps to reset our biological clocks. We talked a lot about this in the rejuvenation reset and how important and vital that is. One of the ways that I have been able to finally restore my beautiful, glorious sleep after having so many years spent with just the most horrible insomnia was from grounding and from doing it in specific ways and specific times of the day. For example, at sunrise and sunset. And I find it so interesting that in the morning, no matter the season, for example, even in dead summer where it's so hot, in the morning, first thing, when you go outdoors to greet the sunrise and you're in your bare feet, the first thing you'll notice is that the earth's surface, the grass, it's all dewy, it's moist, it's cool. And that is because that water, that moisture, helps our body to conduct the electrical energy better, because water is a conductor, water and minerals. So the water in our body, the water on the grass, the minerals in our body, all of that helps to conduct the electricity from the earth better. Speaking of which, the late Dr. William Rossi, a podiatrist, footwear historian, prolific author, he said that the foot has a kind of radar sonic base, which provides a little known but vital function that serves to extract energy from the earth, similar to a plant root extracting moisture from the ground for nourishment. Such ground to foot vibrations are an important energizing power, helping to serve the body's life forces. But he goes on to say that a natural gait is biomechanically impossible for any shoe-wearing person. So let's get into the shoe problem. So here's a statistic that says Americans visit podiatrists 55 million times a year for shoe-related problems. So wearing shoes certainly is normal, but not natural, which was a big theme in the rejuvenation reset. And apparently just the act of daily wearing of shoes will cause chronic foot problems, according to the American Podiatry Medical Association. So, although most people don't realize this and we all assume that shoes are protective, they very often cause more harm than good. They actually alter our form and our function, and our feet can become deformed as a result. And we will see things like bunions and hammer toes and ingrown toenails and fallen arches, etc., all a result of shoe wearing. And you may think it's all a result of simply high heels or ill-fitting shoes, but actually even regular shoes, because of the way they're constructed and the way that they are not constructed to actually support a natural gait and a natural foot form. They actually have toe boxes. The front part are called toe boxes of shoes. They're usually very pointy, and even if they do have a wide enough toe box, usually you will see arches that are very unnaturally high, which causes the feet and the muscles in the feet actually to just atrophy. As well, the heels are usually lifted, which throws our gait forward. All of this affects not only our feet, but our ankles, our knees, our hips, our backs, our necks, and this can all cause various degrees of pain and discomfort in the body. So these common foot problems, including athlete's foot, These are conditions that shoes actually cause, and they are so rare in habitually barefoot societies. So even though primitive people don't wear shoes and we wonder how can they manage with their feet so unprotected, they're actually receiving these forces from the earth, this energy. They're not having their feet and their gait changed and deformed, and therefore their whole being is just stronger and more vital and healthier for the most part. So shoes can be like a real incubator, not only of athlete's foot, but also physical deformities. So let's talk a little bit about how the foot works and the bones in the foot, and why shoes can be so problematic. So of the 206 bones in the human body, would you believe 52 of them are found in our feet, 26 bones per foot. And all of these bones have to work together in a symphony, creating not only rigidity, so we have the structure and ability to walk upright, but also the flexibility for locomotion. And all of these bones are in three sections of the feet. So the foot is divided anatomically into three regions: the forefoot, the midfoot, and the hindfoot. And the front part of the foot, or the forefoot, is composed of 5 metatarsal bones and 14 phalanges. And that's how we create movement between the metatarsal and the tarsal bones. And this is so critical to walking. We have joints as well called metatarsal, phalangical joints, MTP. And this is we have 3 of them, and all of these joints and ligaments and bones, they all have to work in a really specific way. And if anything is slightly out of place or elevated in a wrong way, anything that changes the way that we take our steps and the way that we push off to walk, or the way that we land, or the way that our ankles have to lock and then release, all of this has to happen in a certain way. And if our footwear in any way is impinging on this natural motion, we're going to have pain, we're going to have problems. So take, for example, your arches. We actually have 3 arches: the medial longitudinal arch, the lateral longitudinal arch, and the transverse arch. And these arches aren't rigid structures as many people think. It's actually the ability to create flexibility and constantly change their shape when we're walking. And if we have fallen arches or weak arches, and if we become flat foot, then we're going to have problems with all of the different muscles. There are about 30 muscles that connect to the feet, and those muscles are all connected to different bones and ligaments, etc., throughout the body. And so it's no wonder sometimes why we have headaches when our feet are scrunched into shoes, or they're just not allowed to walk with the proper gait and proper flexibility that our toes would have if they were unencumbered by shoes. So our arches are extremely important. They help us with weight bearing and transferring when we're walking, of the distribution of weight. And the ligaments and tendons in our feet are all also affected by the shoes that we wear. And for example, if we have even a tennis shoe or running shoe, you'll notice that if you look at them, the heels are higher than the midfoot. And it's not even a high heel, so you can imagine what high heels do. But even just a regular running shoe over time will shorten those Achilles tendons at the back of our heels, at the back of our foot. And what that does is create rigidity, and we're not going to be as flexible. And this is also a reason why sometimes athletes sprain their ankles, because if you were walking barefoot and you happen to step on something, your body has its natural biofeedback in place, and your whole body will move in a certain way to compensate. But because we lack that natural biofeedback, when we step on something, our ankle will roll. And that's because the sole of the shoe isn't flexible like our foot, so it cannot meet that stone or whatever it is and have the body just walk in a certain way over it. Instead, the ankle will roll and we twist our ankle. So it's quite interesting how shoes, we think that they're protecting us, but actually they can be hindering our natural movement, and that can have a negative effect on the strength of our muscles and the flexibility and the integrity of all the tendons and ligaments attached to our muscles and bones. And this prolonged ankle extension that comes from wearing shoes, it weakens our arches and ultimately makes our arches fall. And this also, it not only strains our arches, but with our heels elevated in the way that shoes do off of the ground, it reduces our shock absorption ability and also the springing action of the foot arch. So you can see how that just by wearing shoes, shoes change the way we walk, and that has an effect on our whole being. That's why this other podiatrist, Dr. Schulman, said that the greatest enemy of the human foot is basically shoes, and why Dr. Rossi said there's no such thing as a sensible shoe, because walking is a very complex action. Here are some ways that shoes negatively impact our feet and our natural gait. So, shoes diminish the flexibility of the foot and toes. They reduce the length and strength and power of the Achilles tendon and calf muscles. They reduce the gripping and pushing off functions of the toes. They also eliminate most sensory feedback between the sensitive sole of our feet and our brain. Shoes redistribute the body weight and load-bearing placements in the foot differently. They alter the positions of joints in the feet, ankles, knee, hips, and spine. They also dramatically reduce the arch, and they reduce the shock absorption function. Wearing shoes constantly shortens our Achilles tendon, which decreases the range of motion at the ankle joint, and the power of our calf muscles, which is perhaps the most important muscle for walking, in as little as about 6 months. Our Achilles tendons are shortened to the point where some people actually find it uncomfortable to stand barefoot. All of these things that shoes cause lead to other problems. For example, wearing shoes, it shifts our body weight toward the front of our foot, which not only shortens the Achilles tendon, but it strains the arch and the plantar fascia on the bottom of our feet. This upsets our joints and modifies or changes our posture and the springing capabilities of our arches. And this all hyperextends our toes and makes all kinds of problems with our feet, our walking, our posture, and then we feel, or we're told, that we need orthotics to correct all these problems. Little do we realize that these problems are caused by wearing shoes. All of this changes our ability to walk properly, and it contributes to an atrophy of our muscles and a weakening of our ligaments in our feet and legs. And as well, there is a condition called neuropathy, where a person cannot even properly feel their feet, such as those suffering from diabetes, and they have to wear shoes to protect their feet so they don't, go around and have undetected injuries or cuts. But wearing shoes actually, it is a shoe-induced neuropathy where we tend not to be in tune with our natural environment or our feet. Inside a shoe can reach temperatures of over 120 degrees. Our feet get very hot, they get very sweaty. We're not in tune anymore with the terrain and the environments that we're walking on. Our natural heel strike phase and stance phase, it's all converted into sort of a rolling sort of a step when we wear shoes. All of this changes our posture and the way that we walk and the way that we feel. When we're wearing shoes, our foot is held in an inflexible position within the shoe, and our feet are not working, they're not moving naturally, they're not gripping and flexing, they're kind of deadened. So shoes are designed to make our feet very rigid. They don't permit the natural patterns of movement and body weight distribution or shock absorption. And just imagine what this does to the stress of our hips and legs and spine. So this is why in the Barefoot book written by Daniel Howell, PhD, he says that shoes really render our feet deaf and blind. They're really like a shoe, they're like a foot coffin. And you can test this out yourself. Just take a few steps barefoot. Note the arch toe pushing movement and the arch landing position, and then put on some athletic shoes and take a few steps and notice the differences. So a couple fun facts. There are an estimated 100 to 200,000 nerve endings in the sole of each foot. And if you've ever had a reflexology session and had your feet massaged, you'll know that's true, because your feet are a gateway to such stress release and relaxation, or they can be a source of great pain. For any runners or aspiring runners out there, 20 of the last 22 winners of the Boston Marathon have been Africans, not African Americans, many of whom grew up and trained barefoot. And barefoot running is quite popular among certain people these days. For good reason. Now you understand why. So have I convinced you to give it a try and kick off your shoes and allow your feet to move and bend and stretch and grip naturally like they're meant to? I hope so. For your own health and your own beauty and your own sense of sovereignty and freedom. It's natural. It feels delicious, and the benefits are extensive. You know, as I get older, I'm so grateful that I have discovered this natural, amazing method of just going about life. I do get some strange looks when I'm out in public bare feet sometimes, and sometimes people ask me why, and if I sense that they're really open, I'll tell them, and I'll recommend the books like Earthing or the Barefoot book, etc. But if I don't think they are as open and I feel like they are just a little bit evaluating, judgmental, or suspicious, I just say, oh, my doctor recommended it. And that just seems to make everyone happy. Man, I'd actually love to have a doctor who recommended earthing and grounding. So, actually, I think Dr. Carolyn Dean does. Anyway, as I get older, I realize how important it is when I hear about older people sustaining falls, and that is such a dangerous thing as we get older, because if we break our hip where all the bone marrow is created, it's just so dangerous, and we're not as balanced. We don't have that strength and vitality, I feel, if we've been in shoes all of our life. So, barefooting, grounding, it's just another amazing practice that definitely helps with balance, posture, strength, vitality, and I think overall longevity. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I really had fun sharing all this with you. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you're willing to give it a try or if you have been grounding. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for joining me for the Rejuvenation Reset, and as always, thanks for watching.